Hello. Test. Okay. Just want to make sure my mic was working fine. Turn the music down just a tad. I think we're all good to go. All right. How are y'all doing tonight? Appreciate y'all being here on a random just Sunday night. And so whether you're watching the VOD or here now, I appreciate you just tuning in. It truly means a lot. Let's see. But so yeah, I know I haven't streamed in a bit. I know it's been a little bit since I've done any sort of content on the channel. So I wanted to go ahead and do like a nice little stream here. And kind of just talk about stuff that's been happening since the last time I did my last live stream, which was during the Bulls Summer League, actually, if I'm not remembering correctly. So it's been pretty much almost a month here. Time flies by quickly, but there hasn't been really any like specific Bulls news. I know we can like talk about like Josh Giddey at the Olympics, and there's been some Bulls articles that have come out here and there that I do think are interesting, but I didn't think that they were worthy of like a video, if that makes any sense. Because a video is 8 minutes long at bare minimum, and I don't want to be repeating myself constantly. And I'm sure that you've all heard from a lot of other people like, oh yeah, we think this thing about whatever. So I didn't want to go ahead and just repeat the same thing that everyone else is saying. But we are going to talk about a few things when it comes to the Bulls, and I want to cover a lot from the Olympics because Team USA has won yet another gold medal. So congratulations to them. But man, oh man, was it a great Olympics. This has been honestly some of the most exciting basketball I think in a while. And we got it in August, which was awesome. So congratulations to Team USA and how they went ahead and got the gold medal, which is obviously the only goal in mind. You cannot come away without the gold medal for Team USA. It was not an easy road, as Serbia did have a very good challenge for them. And I always say, man, like, with the rest of the world getting a lot better, I'm just waiting for the time where it's like Team USA is the favorite, and suddenly there's just that one game where none of the shots go in, and it's an elimination match, and ends up not being a good game for Team USA, unfortunately. But obviously that did not it almost happened in the semifinal game for Team USA against Serbia, but they did somehow come back and win that with the likes of the three players that dominated pretty much the last decade in LeBron, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. So that was just awesome to watch, to see those three all on the court together and pretty much leading the charge, along with Joel Embiid, who had a very important, crucial role helping lead that comeback. It was just awesome to watch, to see that Serbia game happen live, and we were all in witness to watch that game. But then it came down to this game. It was USA against France in France. Like that to me, I don't think people understood like the importance of that. That yeah, you think Team USA is favored, but you're playing the home country's team in their home country. Like that's hard, man. Like you think that the Olympics is it's even ground, but you go in and it's suddenly you're facing Team France in Paris. The crowd's all against you, man. Like that's not easy. And it got pretty close, especially in that fourth quarter where suddenly the offense for Team USA just stopped. But luckily they have the greatest shooter of all time, as that man decided, you know what, we are winning this gold medal no matter what happens. And he dropped 8 threes, the only shots he made all game in the gold medal game. So Steph Curry, I will always say this, but I think Steph Curry had probably two of the most important, or two of the biggest performances in two of the most important games ever in Team USA history. I mean, 35 points and 9 threes against Serbia in that game where it seemed like no one could really get their offense going besides Steph Curry, and he was absolutely huge with every three that he made in that game. And then in this game where things were getting close, it got to within 3 within 4 minutes left to go here, and then Steph hit that 1-3 to get the lead back up to 6, but then he goes on then a 12-0, or not 12-0 run, but he scored 12 straight points by himself, all from 3-point range, to close out the game and completely finish it. And the dagger is a step back heave over while being double teamed. That man, honestly, I think had the two of the best performances in FIBA Olympic history, and it was in two of the most important games probably in Olympic history for basketball, and definitely two of the most important games for Team USA. That cannot go, unaccounted for, in my opinion, when it comes to just how much Steph Curry just did in these two games. So major props to Steph Curry. That was quite a show in those two games by him. And LeBron and Kevin Durant did pretty well overall. I know LeBron got the MVP, but I'm not gonna lie, I do think Steph Curry honestly deserved it after those two games. I think LeBron was the front runner until those two games happened for Steph, because the way I look at it, and this is just, it's obviously very debatable, and I'm sure there's a very good argument for LeBron here, but the way I look at it, honestly, it's so this sort of, when it comes to Olympic basketball, it is very similar to what I think is like a March Madness tournament. Obviously the group stage is not March Madness, but even in group stage, every game, every point matters, because there's point differential that decides your tiebreaker, and only two teams from each group move on, and then the two best teams that didn't move on, the top two from their group, also move on. So point differential is obviously huge. Like, every point matters, every game matters, even in group play. But in March Madness, obviously, when you think of like the MVP, you think of like who came up huge in like the Final Four, or the last two games, or like, obviously the championship game. And at least to me, Steph Curry was obviously the best player in the last two games by far. It's not even close. So I think honestly he should have won MVP, but I know why people think LeBron deserves it, and he obviously played very well too. But I mean, man, I don't think you can beat 17 threes in 2 games. Like that's special stuff in my opinion. So I think Steph Curry obviously deserves, I think he deserved MVP. He obviously had, again, like 2 of the best performances in 2 of the most crucial games for Team USA, and they were quite a show. So yeah, I think he deserved it, but it is what it is. I'm not going to be too critical about it. Whoever decided to make those votes up, or whoever decided on those votes, I'm not going to be too critical about it. But Team USA got another gold, 5th gold medal in a row in the Olympics. Not obviously when it comes to FIBA World Basketball. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing? But in the Olympics, the Team USA has won 5 straight gold medals, and I think it honestly is a testament to just how good KD has been for such a long time, that Kevin Durant has 4 straight gold medals in Olympic basketball, and he played a very prominent role in all 4 of those gold medals. He started on the first 3, and then obviously he didn't start until the last game for this Olympics. But Kevin Durant now is the all-time leading scorer in Team USA history, and that includes men and women's in terms of scoring title, or scoring records. And then he has now the most gold medals for a men's Olympic basketball player with 4. Like, that's an incredible run for Kevin Durant in his Olympic career. And obviously Kevin Durant's the first ballot Hall of Famer, but that's special, man. I think when we saw Melo, get the scoring title, I think that was a special moment. And now Kevin Durant has that, and he's won 4 straight gold medals. That's crazy. And I don't know. I mean, LeBron obviously has 3 now. I don't think LeBron's going to be coming back for the 2028 Olympics, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that it's a very special moment. Let's see. One sec, Patrick. I'm going to pop out your chat here. Well, is there anybody you think should have been on the team? Anybody you think shouldn't have been on the team? So I'm aware that there is a lot of controversy about who should have been on the team and who shouldn't have been on the team. And then obviously there's a lot of controversy about rotations. Because Jason Tatum, for example, didn't play against Serbia, but he played against France. But in my opinion, knowing at least who I think was available, I do think that Jaylen Brown deserved to be on the team. once Kawhi Leonard was dropped. But I do understand why Team USA decided to go with Derek White, because when you kind of look at the roster, right? I mean, when you look at like guards, right? You have one in Steph Curry, two in Tyrese Halliburton, and then three in Drew Holiday. And I'm even gonna say that Devin Booker wasn't even like a guard; like he was a wing. Like if you really think about it, so I can understand them why they were like, "Hey, I think we could use another good perimeter defending guard." In Derek White, and so that's the reason why they went with him. By the way, for all the people that said that are saying Drew Holiday didn't deserve to be playing or didn't deserve to be on the team, they're crazy. I think Drew Holiday absolutely deserves to be on Team USA, and I think he showed why yet again. But I think that's like the one guy I'd say, because it seemed like Jaylen Brown was willing to play, was obviously healthy because he just won the finals. And I personally would have chosen him over Derek White. But I don't think honestly there's anybody else. I think that that's honestly it. This is assuming that obviously Damian Lillard was not available, and I don't think he was, because he got injured in the playoffs. And like guys like Chris Middleton, I don't think deserve to be on there. Donovan Mitchell also was probably injured. So I'm not like too concerned about him. But if Mitchell in the future wants to be on Team USA, he did a FIBA tournament once, but if Mitchell wants to be on Team USA in the future, he absolutely deserves it. But I mean, I think that's honestly it. Like I don't really have much else, honestly, besides who I mentioned. So I think Team USA honestly got it right this year for the most part. And again, I'm not going to be too big about the Derek White versus Jaylen Brown thing. I know Jaylen Brown was upset, but I'm not gonna be too critical about it in the end. But I'm aware though that the rotations, man, I will say that I do not agree with Steve Kerr about benching Jason Tatum for multiple games. That did not make much sense to me. But in terms of like overall rotations though, I think Steve Kerr kind of nailed it with the rotations. I'm not gonna lie. I think he realized when he needed to scrap the rotations to just put the big dogs out there and just let them go. And I think he understood matchups really well. Like the game he benched Joel Embiid, it kind of made sense. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but that matchup against South Sudan, it made sense to bench Joel Embiid in that game. And I'm aware that everyone's like upset about it, but it just kind of made sense. With Tatum though, it didn't really make sense to me, because I think you could place Tatum in any lineup, but I think he should still play Tatum, but if you only give him 8 minutes, I wouldn't have been upset, But that's honestly the only issue I had. And Woodage, with Halliburton, he didn't do much. Still got a gold medal. He's having fun not playing much. Yeah, I think guys like how Tyrese Halliburton played, right? Like, I honestly think him accepting like, hey, I'm not gonna be used. That's okay, but I'm still gonna be cheering on my team, and hey, I get to go to Paris and watch the Olympics, for free, and I got a gold medal. Like, I think that's just a great attitude just to have. And I won't lie, to me it made sense not to play Tyrese Halliburton. Like it made complete sense from Steve Kerr. So I don't blame him for that one whatsoever. But I don't really get the Tatum one in a sense. But that's not me saying that Tatum should be playing 20 minutes a game. Like, I could understand if he's only playing like 8, The reason why the world has caught up isn't really due to the talent. It's due to the coach trying to figure out how to use the talent. What do you mean, Woodage? You're saying that you think that the world caught up to Team USA because they don't have any talent, but it's because Steve Kerr didn't play his rotations correctly? Because if you're making that assumption, then I think that's completely incorrect. I think the rest of the world is very clearly caught up, even if they don't have like an NBA superstar on their roster. I think it's very clear that the rest of the world is very much doing much better at basketball at this point. But yeah, that's that. Patrick, if you're still here, did you have anybody that you thought should have been on Team USA that didn't make it, or do you think that someone should have been left off? Because to me, honestly, I think all of these guys deserve it. Like, even though Halliburton didn't play, I think he also deserved to play, or I think he deserved to be on this team. So I don't know. I'm just interested what you have to say about it. But in the end, though, I'm not too critical about who didn't make it or who did make it. So yeah. I think overall with Team USA, it's gonna be like, this Olympic run for them was obviously very special, and KD, Steph Curry, LeBron, all on the same team. The three guys that pretty much dominated the last decade in the NBA, that was special. What's also important to realize is that they're all 36 or older. So this is probably their last hurrah, and obviously LeBron, he's getting to 40. So I think with these guys, this is their last hurrah. It'll be interesting to see who's gonna, come in for Team USA later on. I think Anthony Edwards is gonna be kind of one of the big dogs. He kind of showed like him and FIBA play style works really well. He kind of was honestly like the point guard in the second unit, and it made complete sense why. I mean, his handles are very good. And even when he was playing with Tyrese Halliburton, like Tyrese was kind of the two guard. So Anthony Edwards is probably going to be moving forward one of the guys that is going to be on here. And if Jason Tatum's not upset enough, then he'll be here still. But other than that, man, like I could honestly see, Drew Holiday, Anthony Davis, Devin Booker, like all these guys moving on from Team USA, especially the guys in their 30s. So we'll see, man. 2028 Olympics is in LA, so it's in America. So that team better still be good. But I won't be shocked if they don't have as good of a team as this one, because people are saying that this is arguably the best Team USA team of all time. And I won't be shocked if they don't win it, because assuming that Wembanyama plays for France again, I mean, oh boy, Wembanyama's gonna be out for blood. So yeah, we'll see, man. It's gonna be a fun time watching Olympic basketball from here on out, and I think every single NBA fan should be watching Olympic basketball no matter what. And even the FIBA World Cup tournaments, I think, are also worth watching. I know Team USA usually doesn't send like that good of a team to those World Cups anymore. I think the last time that they won it was in 2014, which was when Derrick Rose was on the roster, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe, sorry, excuse me, maybe it was 2013. But yeah, man, I think that there's a lot of really good players that are not in the NBA that are playing in the Olympic or FIBA World Cup tournaments, and it's worth watching no matter what now, I think. So pay attention for future Olympic Games. But obviously, so America got the gold, France got the silver, and I think France is, they're pretty upset with themselves. I mean, that's 2 silvers in a row to Team USA, which I know a lot of teams would not be upset about it, but I think they're pretty upset about it because they probably feel like they should have won at least one of those games. But still, though, I think they should be proud of their performance. They did such a good job in their home country. And then Serbia did win the bronze medal game against Germany. So Serbia did win the bronze medal, and they look pretty happy about it. So I'm happy for those guys and Jokic and company. What's going on, Google? How you doing? Just talking over the Olympic stuff and Steph Curry's amazing performances and Team USA's current team, and then what's the future of it. Honestly, it'll be interesting to watch. And I know Steve Kerr kind of got a lot of flack. Did you watch the Olympics, Magugla? Last game Curry went, yeah. Curry was insane. I was watching with my mom, and I was just telling her, I'm like, when Curry shot that last shot, that 4-3 that he made in a row, I was like, no way, man. And it went in. I'm like, oh my god, best shooter of all time just decided to hit a step back heave to end the Olympics. That's just crazy. Yeah, if you weren't here earlier, I personally had Curry as my MVP. And I'm aware that LeBron, I think he played very well, but the reason why I said that I think Curry deserved the MVP was because, like, I think of the Olympics as like a March Madness style tournament. I understand that the Olympic or the group stage is not March Madness style, but when I think of like March Madness and you think of like who was like the MVP of March Madness, you think of the player that performed in like the last two games to that performed really really well that won the championship, right? I think Curry just put on two of the best performances in Olympic history in two of the most important games for for Team USA or just Olympic basketball in general in history. And he put up 17 threes in two games, in two very, very, very important games. Like, that just to me is unbeatable, man. I think that's an insane that's an insane thing to do. Like, I don't think people understand that, like, 17 threes in two games where it's not an easy game, eliminations on the line, and they're all for the medal. Like, it matter if he doesn't hit 17 threes, like you said, Google, like, Team USA might get bronze. Like, and who knows, man? Who knows what happens in the bronze medal game? So I personally had Curry as my MVP, but I'm aware that, a lot of people say LeBron deserved it, and he obviously played really well throughout the entire Olympics. And I'm aware Steph Curry did not play well in the first, however many Olympic games before those last two games. He did not show up, but yeah, man, those two very important games, man. Whew, like that to me is where he deserved MVP, because that's crazy stuff. Yeah, that's just my opinion though. I watched track and field, basketball, gymnastics, table tennis, and it said, "Oh my gosh, wow!" So you watched a ton. Oh my gosh, wow. I did not watch all of those. I only paid really attention to basketball and some table tennis, just a little bit. And then I was able to keep up with some track and field stuff, but not all of it, obviously. Only watched breakdancing. I did not watch breakdancing. Yeah. They're not bringing it back for 2028. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. I did not know that they're not bringing it back. I thought that they definitely bring that back. They're probably gonna get involved in the 3-on-3 basketball. I think that, yeah, I agree with you, Woodage, that the players in the Big Three league should get involved in the 3-on-3 basketball. I do think it is kind of crazy that they don't allow players like from like Team USA to play for 3v3 basketball, but I kind of get why. But I do think that some of the players in the Big Three should take a look at that, because I think they play really well. But you thought we were gonna lose to Serbia? I was watching the first second quarter anymore until Steph Curry went up. Yeah, man. I when I was watching the Serbia game in that second quarter, I was so livid. And it's not necessarily like, I wouldn't be like, if Team USA lost, like, I'd be disappointed, but I wouldn't be upset. But I was just livid with how they were playing, man. Like, in the second quarter, when the second unit's out there and Katie's in the second unit, like, they just didn't give Katie the ball at all. It was just like Anthony Edwards was trying to force shots, and guys were taking shots when they shouldn't have. I was like, shouldn't you go to the guy that is now your leading scorer in USA basketball history? Like, that dude who was also, like, that guy also led the 2021 team to the gold medal too. Like, shouldn't you give that guy the ball? And they just wouldn't. It was just so mind-boggling to watch. But I'll say that fourth quarter when they came back against Serbia was probably one of the most fun I've had watching a basketball game in a very long time. That fourth quarter was something special. And I'm very, very happy and blessed to have witnessed that live, because I know a lot of people could not have watched that live, but I was able to watch that live. This shows how impactful Jokic is for Team Serbia. Jokic was insane. Like, the stuff that Jokic can do, like, and with the smaller basketball, it's even more incredible just to watch, because he makes the smaller basketball look like it's like a Nerf ball. yeah, Jokic can straight up do so much in this style of play where there is no 3-second rule. But with the way that FIBA works, where it is a big priority on the guards and the big men, like, he is truly, when he's the focal point, it is special just to watch him just do his magic. And I just was in awe of some of the passes he was making. Like, he had a behind the back pass from the corner to the guy going down the lane, and you're just like, wow. Jokic was truly incredible for Serbia, and they got bronze. I don't think they should be upset at all about getting bronze. And I won't be shocked in 2028 if they get something better than bronze. Serbia is a very loaded team for I think quite a while, in my opinion. And honestly, man, like, I think some of their players, if there's anything, like, I think some of the players that are not in the NBA for Serbia, they might be getting some calls. And maybe it's not for an NBA contract, but maybe, maybe it's a two-way contract, or who knows? Maybe they get a call next summer league, because they have some players, man, that can straight up play that do not, or that have no, like, they have no connection to the NBA whatsoever. And I think that they deserve a chance. So, yeah. But I think this was overall probably one of the Olympics that I was most excited for, because knowing that Team USA was just not going to dominate, like we've kind of been accustomed to, and this was also the case for the 2021 or 2020, but played in 2021 Olympics. Like, knowing that Team USA, or like not knowing that one team is not going to dominate like every single opponent, I think that's just awesome, because then you get to watch the best players in the world, from all places in the world, have to play at 100%, and it's not, it doesn't feel like an all-star game, right? And to be able to witness these guys all play together, and they're all giving 100% effort, and it's only a 40-minute game. Like, you're missing 8 minutes, right, from a typical NBA game. It was just awesome to watch, because like, it shows you just how important every point matters in FIBA, because there's 8 less minutes compared to an NBA game. So like legitimately every single bucket matters in FIBA, because you just don't have the time. Those 2 extra minutes per quarter really do add up when it comes to the end of the game. So yeah, I truly did appreciate what I watched, from not just Team USA, but from all teams at the Olympics. So yeah, so I'm gonna keep it talk about the Olympics. So if you want to talk about the Olympics in chat, or bring up stuff in chat about the Olympics, feel free. But I do want to talk about Josh Giddey and his performance at the Olympics. So I'm gonna go back here to look at some of the other results here. So we did witness Team Australia go on a decent run. Unfortunately for them, they were up very, very high in the quarterfinal game, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, so in the quarterfinal game, Australia was up by a lot of points in this game, but they unfortunately were not able to close it out. Now, I was not able to watch this full game, so I wasn't able to, I can't give you every single detail. But Josh Giddey in this game, this was one of his better games. I think that he showed you kind of like both sides of him in a sense. So first off, the one thing that I'm going to say is that he hit some threes, and some of them were off the dribble. So, that's a major improvement. Like, a lot of Josh Giddey's threes last season, because he was playing off ball, were all like catch and shoot threes. Okay. Not a lot were off the dribble. So to see him taking some off the dribble threes and pull up threes, like, that's good. That's a good sign. We also saw him, he was putting on like a lot of points, and he was showing you like this little float game that he has. And he was a main carrier for this Australia team, who has, some NBA players on this roster. I think we saw overall from Josh Giddey in the Olympics that you see that he can, when he does have the keys to the car, that he has some potential to truly run a team at that point guard spot, and kind of, be the engine. Um, but I also think that you saw some of his flaws, which the biggest thing in terms of his flaws is the turnovers. Okay. I mean, 7 turnovers, and he had some crucial turnovers down the stretch here in this game. This is just kind of what we're going to have to get used to. And it's not necessarily about Josh Giddey, making a bad decision when he's trying to pass the ball. It's that he's loose with the handle, and when he kind of gets trapped, because he doesn't have the best dribbling ability, he then is forced to make a tough pass, and you see him making some passes that are just not going to get through. I think you see that Giddey is very aware of his teammates pretty much at all times on the floor, whether he has the ball or not. But you do see, though, the kind of some of the parts are the parts that are rough around the edges for Giddey in terms of his offensive game that we're gonna have to get accustomed to. Obviously, this team, didn't have a lot of time to play together, so I do think that some of these turnovers were because he just didn't have the chemistry with these players. But some of these turnovers were definitely on him. So I think we got a good idea what Josh Giddey is going to do for the Bulls next season in terms of stats. And his Olympic stats kind of go off of that, honestly. So when I go to Josh Giddey and just look at his Olympic stats from this year, I thought actually they showed that. I guess they don't. But let me go ahead and pull it up on Twitter for a sec here. But I think that we get an idea that Giddey is probably going to average, and I hope this isn't the case, but I think he's going to average around 18 points per game this season if he is staying healthy and really does have the keys to the car like the Bulls said that he would. He'll probably average, 8 rebounds and probably also around 8 assists as well. I think the one thing to also keep in mind, though, is his turnovers, where I do think that Josh Giddey, in terms of turnovers, it's probably going to be a little bit higher rate than we're going to like. So, no, 3 turnovers, averaging 3.5 turnovers per game. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case for Josh Giddey this upcoming season. But these were his Olympic numbers. So 70.5 points, about 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He's going to average more assists. And he's going to. The reason why is because he's going to play more minutes in the NBA. But I think this is honestly kind of what we're going to look at. Now, if I had to set a goal for Josh Giddey to truly make me feel like, hey, he is someone that I fully trust to have the keys to the car, have the ball a lot and make a lot of decisions with the basketball and truly be the point guard of the future for this team, I think the points per game number has to be at 20 at bare minimum. So I'm just looking at his stats here from his time in the NBA. So look, I mean, 3.2 turnovers, 2.8 turnovers. I'm going to go ahead and say that he's going to average at bare minimum 3 turnovers per game next season. But if he can average 20 points per game and 8 assists on efficient, decent enough efficiency, and he's also making some threes, then I'm all in on saying that Josh Giddey deserves to have the keys to the car. But I've kind of talked about it earlier. For you to be actually a playmaker in this league, you have to have the ability to score. And if you're giving the ball to a guy who can't score the ball, there's just no reason for him to be the playmaker, right? I know a lot of people are starting, we're kind of talking about, well, Chris Paul was a guy that is a pass first point guard that didn't average that many points, but has had a lot of success in this league. But when I look at Chris Paul in his prime, he still averaged at least 18, 19, sometimes even 20 or more points per game, as well as 11 assists, right? So, like I said, it's important for Josh Giddey to get to that 20 point per game number, in my opinion. And he has to, at least in my opinion, show it next season. Because if he doesn't get there and he's stuck at his 16 point per game average, which we saw in his sophomore season, it's just not worth it to give him the ball. Yes, he's a fantastic passer and a great playmaker, but if he doesn't have the threat to score, then it's just not worth giving him the ball constantly. So, he needs to, in my opinion, his goal should be 20 points per game next season. If he averages 18 and doesn't get there, it's fine, but then he has to work up to get, to that 20 point per game mark, at least in my opinion. So, just kind of setting the tone for next season already. And this is, I was just kind of looking off of what his Olympic numbers, uh, etc. Pat looking over his shoulder with Buzelis on the team. Patrick Williams should absolutely be looking over his shoulder with Buzelis. Absolutely. Patrick's gonna get the ability to start though, and he's gonna be able to start for a while because he just got the new contract. But yeah, just saying that Buzelis should 1,000,000% be challenging Patrick Williams immediately. Bills wanted to run a fast-paced offense that would cost the turnovers itself. Yeah, but OKC already played in a fast-paced offense, so I'm not gonna. I don't think it's gonna astronomically increase the turnover rate. OKC already plays fast, like they're faster than a lot of other teams, so I'm not too concerned about that. He's gonna be 17-7-7 to 18-8 type of guy, which is like probably Magic Johnson type numbers. So, I mean, I think those are his numbers for next season. Like, I truly think that it's going to be like 17-8-8 or 18-8-8, like you said. But like I was saying earlier, like he has to get to, in my opinion, the 28 mark for him to be like a major engine of the offense. Scoring is always going to take precedent over passing ability in today's league. So you have to show that you're at least a threat scorer in this league to have the ball in your hands consistently. If you don't, then there's just no reason to have the ball in your hands. That's just how the numbers work in today's game. So he has to, soon, and it doesn't have to be next season, but soon, he has to get to the 20 point per game mark. Yeah, he has to. And if that's just coming from increased 3-point attempts or increased free throw attempts, because he doesn't shoot many of either, that's great. And then he has to, keep decent enough efficiency to allow that, right? So I'm hoping, man. I have hope for Giddey, especially after watching the Olympics. Like, I see the vision for him to score 20 points per game consistently. And I see the vision for him when it comes to his passing and playmaking to really run this Bulls offense. And I can even see a world where he's not the main guy and like there's another, 25 point per game scorer next to him. But he's still averaging 20 and 8. But he has to get to that 28 mark first before we can just start discussing anything. And that's just bare minimum in my opinion. Because if he can get up to 22 and 8, that's even better. But I don't really see that being possible on him. But we'll see. He is still only 21, so I'm not here to be like, oh my god, it's over if he doesn't get it in the next, 2 seasons. But he'll be 22 at the start of next season. We'll see. Bulls traded a lot for him. Obviously, they traded Caruso, and they're gonna have to pay him. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting thing to look at for next season. And all I care about is development, right? I really do think that it's all about development. And I understand development's not always linear, but you don't get like extra years in the NBA. Like you don't have time to wait around. Which is the reason why Patrick Williams would be interesting to watch. I thought it would have been better on the Spurs. There's a chance that him and Kobe won't play well together. Why do you say that, Woodage? I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way, because I can also see a world where Giddey and Kobe don't play well together either. I could definitely see a world, but I just want to know why you think that there's a chance. Because Kobe was the point guard last year? Sure, but I have a counter to that. Because honestly, in my opinion, I'm going to say right now, DeMar DeRozan was more so the point guard last season. I thought you had something else, footage, but so the reason why I think it could not work out well is because both Giddey and Kobe are not good defensively. As much as Kobe has put in the effort defensively, at the end of the day, he is still a very small body with not a large wingspan. He is pretty tall for a guard. Like he's on the taller side for being a guard, but his defensive metrics still were pretty awful last season, even though he tried, right? Like just to give you a good idea, Kobe White's numbers defensively were almost similar to what Zach LaVine's numbers defensively were last season, and that's with Zach LaVine not trying, and that's with Kobe White trying his hardest. So I think there's a serious world where both Giddey and Kobe do not work out well because they're both liabilities defensively, and because Kobe's not, a big guard in a sense, or a big body, it's just not going to work out. If Giddey and Kobe don't work out, then the whole we could have gotten a few picks for Caruso thing will pop up. I think that's just going to be a storyline no matter what, and I'm not going to let that go, honestly. I think the Bulls, even though that, people are, I know people are, really rethought it, you know what? I'm happy with how Giddey's playing at the Olympics. I think trading Caruso for Giddey was fine. I'm still on the whole bandwagon of, no, it's still not enough. You traded Alex Caruso for a guy who was on the sell low market in Josh Giddey. You also decided to get rid of all your leverage with Caruso. Instead of having a bidding war for Caruso, you then went to the team and said, "Hey, I want Josh Giddey," which means that you lose all your leverage, right? You 1,000,000% should have gotten picks out of this deal, and I'm just saying seconds at bare minimum. You should have at bare minimum gotten 2 seconds. You probably should have gotten a first, honestly. You at bare minimum should have gotten 2 second-round picks out of this deal. And I think that's important because the Bulls don't have any second-round picks until 2028. I genuinely think second-round picks are important. So just saying, I understand it's it's just seconds. No, that's important. But they messed up this, in my opinion, the Caruso deal still. As good as Josh Giddey has looked in the Olympics, and as much hope as I have for him, they messed up the deal still. The Bulls still lost that trade, in my opinion. And even if Giddey becomes an all-star, all I'm still gonna think about is, man, wow, we could have gotten more. We could have gotten an all-star plus picks. Just saying, If Giddey and Kobe do not work out, I don't think it's the end of the world for the Bulls. I'm gonna say that. I'm not gonna be oh, it's end all be all, because I do think that honestly there is a world where Giddey and Kobe actually work out well, but the Bulls do not move on with Kobe. And it's because Kobe's up for a new contract soon, and they don't want to pay him that money. And knowing that, assuming that Kobe doesn't become an all-star, I guess I should also press them or say that first. Assuming that Kobe does not become an all-star, which I don't think he will, they'll be willing to let him go, or maybe trade him before he gets to his contract, or sorry, before he hits free agency. But in an ideal world, they work out, which I think because of Kobe's shooting, it should work out in theory. If it doesn't work out though, then I think the Bulls look to move Kobe, which I don't think is the end of the world. Honestly. It would suck. I'm aware how many people would not be happy about it, but at the same time, I'm not saying, wow, I hate this. I think this is one of the worst moves ever. It's not the worst idea, honestly. I'm gonna be real. It's not the worst idea, honestly, to start thinking about moving Kobe if it doesn't work out. So just saying. Bulls could have gotten a Thunder pick this year, which is 12 and a 25 pick for that draft. Yeah, I agree. Now, I don't know if I would have necessarily prioritized this year's draft, but I also would understand why the Thunder would not have given you a 2025 pick, right? Because Caruso's on the last year of his contract, right? So there's no reason for the Thunder to be yeah, we're willing to give you our 2025 pick when Caruso's about to hit, free agency, right? He's gonna get an extension, but but yeah, I still think the Bulls should have gotten picks out of this, whether it's a first round pick or 2 seconds at bare minimum. They should have 1,000,000% gotten it. And it sucks that we didn't, but I'm not gonna I'm gonna harp on it, but I'm not gonna just be the guy that says, wow, we should have gotten picks consistently, and I'm gonna hate on Josh Giddey. I'm not gonna be like that guy. I'm hoping Josh Giddey turns out to be an all-star. I have doubts. I don't think he will, but I'm hoping he does. I really hope he does turn out to be an all-star, but we'll see. This is what this season's all about, right? This season is going to be a big litmus test for a lot of these players, and I'm very excited for it because I know the Bulls are gonna be bad, but we gotta see some production from some of these guys, including Patrick Williams, um, who just got a new contract. So yeah, we gotta get some production. Honestly, it's huge. All right, I think it's gonna wrap up my whole Olympic talk because I I think I covered a lot from the Olympics. So I know a lot of you guys will be watching the VOD for this, and I truly appreciate that you guys watching the VOD for the stream. So I'm aware it's a Sunday night. But I think it's gonna wrap up my Olympic talk. But I do want to talk about some of the Bulls news that I was not able to get to when I obviously wasn't streaming at the time. So I'm gonna take a sip of water first, so I don't lose my voice. But I do think that when it comes to the recent Bulls news, okay, this is some stuff that I kind of said at the beginning of the stream, but I thought that it wasn't necessarily something that was good enough to make a video on, because a video you're talking like 8 minutes, bare minimum, and I just didn't want to be repeating myself constantly or repeating kind of what all the other Bulls content creators or what Bulls journalists are saying. I didn't want to be that guy, I don't want to just make a video just to make it sake for making a video. But I still do want to talk about it. I think that it is something to talk about. Sam, am I crazy for wanting to trade Kobe? I like him as a person and player, but I don't really trust him to be consistent. Sam, I don't think you're crazy, honestly. Like, I think there is genuinely an argument for trading Kobe now. Like, I know it sounds weird, and I think the right decision overall is to not trade Kobe now. But there is an argument to be made to say that like you should trade Kobe now. Like, it's not crazy to say that. And also, to question his consistency, like I'm kind of with you, like, because I don't necessarily think Kobe's going to become an all-star. Kobe just played his career high in minutes, and he still didn't get to the 20-point per game mark, which is crazy. Which that could change. Like, there is a chance that he gets there, but if he's not averaging 20 points per game in his career high in minutes season, and I don't ever see him hitting 25 points per game, which would get him to all-star territory, right? Like, he's not going to hit Zach LaVine level in terms of scoring, right? He is, in my opinion, a poor man's Zach LaVine. Because as you can see, like, Zach consistently hit 25 or 24 and a half for 4 straight years. Yeah, I definitely understand the argument. Last year it felt like a 3-month hot streak. I think he has improved a ton, though. Oh, he 1,000,000% has improved. Like, I think we all can agree that Kobe White has improved tremendously. From just the previous season to last season. But like, I agree with you. Like, it may have been a 3-month hot streak. It could have been. I would disagree on that just overall, because like the shooting numbers don't necessarily say that. Like, if it was like a 3-month hot streak, which is kind of crazy to say in itself, right? Like, you don't typically ever see a 3-month hot streak. Like, that's half a season, right? Or that's more than half a season. But like, the numbers don't necessarily back that up. Like, if he was on a 3-month hot streak, like, where you just couldn't miss, like, he's shooting at least 40% from 3. So I don't know if it was necessarily that, but I will say though, like, yeah, in terms of overall consistency with scoring, like, is he ever gonna get to the all-star level point where you can say, like, yeah, you're worth, giving a lot of money to average 25 points per game and on at least decent enough efficiency for a guard, when even when you try on defense, you're not good on defense. Like, yeah, it's a good question to bring up, and I don't get me wrong, I'm kind of questioning it too. Like, it is something I'm thinking about. Yeah. But yeah, if he doesn't stay consistent, we probably don't want him long term. Other teams will be lower on him. I agree. Yeah, like, if, let's say, for next season he only averages 18 points per game on worse efficiency, then yeah, his value definitely tanked, because that's one less year of team team control on a good contract, right? And it's he obviously had a worse year, so he wouldn't get as much value in return. But yeah, it is something to think about. I'm not saying, I'm not. If I was the GM, I'm not trading Kobe White now, personally. But it is something that I will be thinking about for sure. Because as much as I love him, like we've talked about, like it some of his stuff is questionable in terms of long-term output. I will say that. So yeah, it is something to think about. Zach and Vooch will be wild cards this year for sure. They'll definitely be wild cards. I think Vooch, honestly, man, I'm ready to say it. I am ready to say that Vucevic has hit like the serious decline in his career. I don't think people understand how bad he shot the ball last season. Like this dude shot 29% from 3-point range. Like that's insanely bad. Like people don't want to. Like people just kind of they're like, yeah, we don't see it. Like, bruh. That is insanely horrible. Like I cannot believe that he still shot 4 threes a game on 29% efficiency. That's awful. Yeah, he seriously played awful last season. When I bring this up though, like just compare this season to this season, so 2022-23 to last season. Okay, he averaged about the same amount of points on 2 less shots, and then this year he averaged 18 on 2 more shots. Like and just less efficient overall. That to me is that's just crazy. So it's either he has to start hitting his threes again, or we're concerned about Vooch. I want him off the team immediately. I'm gonna be real, but it's not gonna happen. So we'll see what happens. I think Zach, honestly, if Zach is healthy, I do think he's getting moved. I'm aware that the contract is a thing, but I think there will be enough teams that are like, hey, we need scoring, and yes, it's a big contract, but hey, we can make this work. I think the biggest thing for Zach right now is the fact that he has not been healthy, and teams are scared about trading for a guy that's been injured. Because, like, for example, would you trade for Lonzo Ball right now? No one would. And all signs point to Lonzo Ball coming back next season. So, I think that's just kind of what is going on with Zach personally, and I think it's gonna change. I could be wrong, and I will admit if I'm wrong, but I think Zach will get traded once he shows that he is healthy. So yeah, Buzelis has an attitude that the Bulls haven't had since Jordan. Really, he might get Pat traded this year. I don't think he'll get Pat traded this year, but I could see it maybe in a few years for sure. I think the Patrick Williams contract is overall decent. I was not happy to find out that it was sorry. Yeah, I was not happy to find out that it was, a flat 18 mil per year, because I thought it would increase per year. And it would have helped the Bulls if it increased per year, because then the salary cap would be a bigger increase than his increase. So the Bulls will be pretty much saving money. Now, the Bulls will be saving a lot more money as years go on, but the problem is that Pat has that player option for the 5th year. So it makes the, flat 18 mil per year a little bit less valuable. But I think it's not going to be this year for Pat. He's staying on this team for next season no matter what. And probably even the following. But year 3, I could see it if Buzelis is really playing well. Pat's problem is health. He might be healthy this year because he only gets hurt every other year. Yeah, that's probably a good. That's a really good prediction, honestly, Woodage. Yeah, he'll be healthy this year, and then comes 2025, 26, he will not be healthy that year, because that's the trend we see with Patrick Williams for whatever reason. But yeah, I could definitely see that happening. And I agree. I do think that Pat's health is a serious concern. Like I think that is something that we do have to consider. Would I trade him this year? No. Absolutely not. You're not trading a guy that you just paid and is just got and is part of the young core that you're trying to build. But down the road, yeah, I can definitely see it. I think Bulls fans, like, I like what you guys, like, you and Sam are bringing. Like, no one's safe on this roster. Like, I think everyone, and rightfully so, should be available on this roster. Besides, obviously, Buzelis. But who knows? Buzelis could be available, 2 years down the road. Okay, let me 1 sec. Hold on. I sincerely apologize. Okay, sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now? I think you guys can hear me now. All right. I was on my untouchable list, to be honest. He has a lot higher potential than most people. I disagree, Sam. I personally also would. Here, I will say this. I think Io should be kept he should be prioritized to be kept more than Kobe, but he shouldn't. Like I said, no one's untouchable. Like, unless I truly know that you're gonna be like the next, Jokic or the next like Luka Doncic, like you're not untouchable. I think there's a lot of guys that you can maybe think about in the league that are not, they're not untouchable, but it's like we're really not going to trade you probably. I don't think anybody on the Bulls even fall on that list, but I do think that with Io, he should be prioritized more than Kobe, because his skill set right now is extremely valuable in this league. Like, when you think of guys like Drew Holiday, for example, like the role that Drew Holiday just played for Team USA, like that to me is what I think of Io in a sense, right? And when I first saw Io play, like I kind of said like he was like a poor man's Drew Holiday, is like his full peak. Then his bad second year, kind of I was like, okay, maybe he's like a Marcus Smart, but still two very valuable guys, right? But this past season though, like, yeah, like I do think that Io's like his priority should be higher for the Bulls, in my opinion, maybe moving forward, because this skill set here is pretty valuable. A guy that he's listed 6'5". I'll say 6'4" with a long wingspan that shoots 40% from three. Yeah, that's a guy that you really do have to prioritize. So yeah. Great idea, modern NBA guard. I agree. I trade back over him. Like I said, I'm not trading any of the young guys this season, but down the road, for sure. Like, I'm probably choosing Io to stay here longer. Like, I'd probably prioritize him more, assuming also that he came off the bench in a lot of these games. So 12.2, like I think he's gonna come off the bench again next season, but we'll see about his minutes. Like, I would not be shocked if he gets starting level minutes again next season, coming off the bench. But if he continues to increase his scoring average, like where we're talking about 14, like, yeah, that's a seriously valuable player that the Bulls cannot let go. So yeah, I do agree with you. If he continues to, obviously improve, right? Which we're saying that about every single player, that all these guys have to continue to improve. And with Io, if he continues to improve, then yeah, you're probably thinking about Io as more as like you gotta prioritize him over some of the other guys. But yeah, we'll see though. That he has to show that first before we do anything. Okay, hold on. So I'm gonna go back here to the end of July, and I want to talk about this article here that Jamal Collier kind of cooked up for ESPN, and he talked about the Bulls, and the front office kind of had some quotes in this article, and then they also talked about like many situations when it came to like the DeMar DeRozan situation, how that all played out for everyone going to the Kings, and then also the Zach LaVine situation that's happening at this moment in time, but also what was happening kind of at this moment when the article was released. So I'm gonna go talk about this for just a little bit here, because I do think that it's something to kind of consider, just to think about for a second. And the part that I want to talk about is this part. So LaVine organization has growing tension between the so pretty much growing tension between LaVine and the org, which this is not brand new news, right? This is stuff that we've kind of known for a long time. But the part that I was just like, what? This makes no sense from the front office. But this part right here, so when the team got off to a rough start at the end of the season, so we remember back to then, LaVine expresses frustrations with the constant losing. LaVine knew the Bulls had engaged in trade conversations last summer, so we've known that Zach LaVine's been in a lot of trade rumors, including himself knowing, for the past 2.5, 3 seasons, right? So through his representation in Clutch, he let the org know that he is open to this two sides working together to find a new destination. But then this part was the part that I was just like, what? This front office is so stupid, man. It was short of a full trade request, but it still irked Karnisovas, sources told ESPN, a slight perceived as Levine not being committed to sticking with the team. Just think about this for 1 second, okay? Arturas Karnisovas put Zach LaVine in trade talks for the past 3.5 seasons or whatever. Or let's just say last season, like just only last season, right? Or and we're thinking back to not last season, but the previous one, okay? He puts Zach LaVine's name in trade talks constantly. He is, even with the new contract, they're just immediately thinking, okay, we might look to trade Zach. Bulls get off to a rough start. Zach then goes to the front office and says, hey, just letting you know I'm open for a trade. Okay? So the guy that has been putting his name in trade rumors for the past however many seasons is now upset that the guy that he's been looking to trade just told him that, hey, I'm open to a trade. Like, make it make sense. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And I trust Jamal Collier. Like, I truly do trust his reporting. Like, he's a guy that I've grown to trust. This, like, when I read this, and I even tweeted it out, like, this made no sense. Like, this made no sense to me. I was just like, what? How could AK be upset that the guy that he's been putting in trade rumors the past however many seasons is just said, yeah, I'm open to a trade? He's like, oh, like, Levine's not committed to sticking with the team. You're committed to not keeping him here. Like, this is very, very weird. And this is when this might have been like the last straw, and I kind of already had like my thoughts about it in the first place, but this to me sounds like this front office kind of like they have like agendas, and when their feelings get hurt, they think like only their feelings matter. Like, this just reminds me of Garpax when they told Tom Thibodeau, like, hey, don't play Jimmy Butler, play Tony Snell. And Tom Thibodeau's like, no, screw you, I'm going to play Jimmy Butler because it's the obvious choice. And they then fired Tibbs because they were upset with how Tibbs was running is running the rotations, etc. Like, that to me is very clear. Like, this front office has all they care about is their feelings. Like, that was, I was just like, you've got to be kidding me, bro. This makes no sense. And to know that this front office is doing this, it makes me very upset moving forward. So I think the other part that kind of increased this theory though is like when they start talking about like, wow, like DeRozan's time here. And so like, it's like, I love DeMar. He was terrific for our organization for the last 3 years, but I don't think we're in a position to deliver what he was looking for going forward. As much as it hurts to let him go, I'm extremely happy for him. Like Mark Eversley clearly has like a big soft spot for like DeMar DeRozan. Like, he has like big feelings for him, and so it like seriously hurt him to let him go. Like, that to me just says your feelings get in the way of your decision making, and I don't like that at all. So I hope that this is really not the case, but to me, this is what I'm seeing, and I'm not happy about it whatsoever. Okay, so I want to talk about this first. Want to know your thoughts on it overall, if you have any thoughts. So comment section or put it in the live chat right now. As a good two guard, if you have a good offensive point guard, I think Ayo can play either point guard or shooting guard, but he is not obviously a main ball handler, right? Like, for example, like for Drew Holiday on the Celtics, right? Drew Holiday's the point guard, but the ball's not in his hands a lot, right? It's in Tatum and Brown, right? So I think that you just have to make sure that Ayo's just not in like a primary playmaking position. So I think he's pretty good. Should have traded LaVine to Philly early in the season for Harris, expiring those Clippers picks they got in the Harden deal. Yeah, I mean, they could have done that, but I don't know. I think the Bulls front office was probably looking for something else in return, and not just expiring contracts at that time. Could have turned that around for Zion, possibly later on in the season. No, I don't think you could probably trade for Zion, honestly, but it's... I like your I like your thinking, but the Pelicans wouldn't do that. I would have traded DeMar in the Portland pick 2 years ago for Kuzma, Denny, and Monte Morris. I don't know if that gets you all three of those players. I think Kuzma and Denny do not get in a Portland pick that is not going to ever convey, is not going to get you both Kuzma and Denny of you. I think you get one of them, but you don't get both. But are you trading them to the Wizards? Because that doesn't make much sense to me. Why would DeMar DeRozan, or why would the Wizards want DeMar DeRozan? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'm impressed with that kid. I am also. His demeanor is just awful. I agree. Yeah. Reminds me of my boss, my old job, which I hated. I won't lie. Yeah, it's a good thought, Sam. Yeah. I'm just so annoyed with him. Like, it does seem like, honestly, that he lets his feelings get in the way of things. He seems to like grow an attachment to like the whole team that we just watched 3 years in a row, right? Where he thinks that this team is so good that he like grows an attachment to these players, and he's like, okay, but I want to see these guys actually like work out well. And in the article with Casey Johnson, Will Gottlieb, and Darnell Mayberry, where they interviewed AK at the Summer League, like that article was talking about how DeMar DeRozan came to them and said like, hey, give us one more year, we're gonna figure it out. And they said, okay, sure, we'll do one more year, which is like, no, you don't do that. Like, the only player you do that for is with LeBron or others like very top tier superstars. You don't do that with DeMar DeRozan. As good as DeMar DeRozan has been, and I truly appreciate his time here in Chicago, you just don't do that. Continuity and competitiveness is their plan, not a good plan, but a plan nonetheless. Yeah, you're right, and it's frustrating. So, other thing that the last thing, and this goes with you, Woodage, right? The other thing that was put in this article is that the Bulls owe their 2025 first round pick, which was traded in the DeMar DeRozan deal, was top 10 protected, but they haven't shown any interest in falling to the bottom and saying to keep the pick either. This to me makes no sense. And this is what you said, Woodage. Like, they're trying to be competitive, right? And have continuity. But to me, this makes no sense. Okay. Now, let me explain my whole thing about, tanking overall. Okay. I think if you try to actually form a team to go 0-82 and place all your bets on getting the first overall pick and then praying to the gods that you get the first overall pick and actually then go and pick the correct guy with the first overall pick, you're absolutely stupid. A rebuild is not trying to just get the first overall pick. A rebuild is trying to accumulate as much young talent as possible in a short amount of time. Okay? A rebuild should not be dependent on you winning the lottery and then picking the correct guy in the lottery. Okay? It certainly helps, but you should not be dependent on that. Okay? That can expedite a rebuild. Just like what we saw with San Antonio, getting Victor Wembanyama is going to probably expedite the rebuild. Okay? Going 0-82, like truly trying to tank and be 0-82, to me is not a way to build a team. Okay? Now, understanding that you're not in a good position currently, and then trading away good players now, and trying to store up and draft capital and get young players, okay, and go with a young core, and knowing that you're going to probably be one of the worst teams in the league, but you're not trying to go 0-82. You're just, mathematically with the talent on your roster, you're probably not going to be very good and going to be one of the top or one of the bottom 10 teams in the league for maybe a couple of years in a row. That's perfectly fine. I think that's a fine thing to do because you're accumulating young talent while you're doing this, okay? Which, again, is the whole point of a rebuild, okay? The Bulls right now, in their current position, they are not done accumulating young talent right now, okay? They still haven't moved off Zach LaVine. They still haven't gotten rid of Vooch's contract. They still have Lonzo Ball's contract still on the roster, right? So they're not done in terms of the stripped down stage, right? So therefore, to me, it is very important that they keep this pick next season. Now, this does not mean I'm saying that they need to go and be 0-82, but they should be trying to actually be in the top, be in the lottery and keeping their top 10 pick. Because I don't even think you need to win the lottery for this upcoming year, this upcoming draft in 2025. I just think you need a top 7 pick on it. Because I think you can get your next franchise cornerstone in the top 7. The Bulls, in my opinion, need to keep the pick. and you can do that without completely bottoming out. So when I read this, it to me just showed that the Bulls front office is still thinking, hey, we're going to try to make the play-in and get extra money. We're not going to be obviously good enough to beat a team in the first round, but we're going to try to make the play-in. And that's very frustrating. Because then if the Bulls lose in the play-in, the only way that they can keep their pick is if it jumps into the top 4. So you'd be praying to the guys that the Bulls keep their pick and they jump into the top 4. It is just a terrible way to manage your assets. And this pick right here needs to be kept, in my opinion. And I don't think the Bulls are going to do so. So overall, from this article that was written by Jamal Collier, great article, doesn't give me any hope. I don't even tanking because if you don't get number one overall pick, like you accomplish nothing. I completely agree. Yeah, like I'm saying that if you legitimately try to go 0-82, you're not accumulating young talent. You're not looking to store up on draft picks in the future. You're not building any sort of foundation for yourself for the rebuild. Right? A rebuild is not tanking. A rebuild is accumulating as much young talent as possible via draft assets, in trades, etc. Right? And accumulating assets to go get that young talent. So draft picks, right? Going 0-82 just completely nullifies that part. Like you're straight up trying to be the worst team ever, and if you don't get that number one overall pick, you are legitimately screwed. And even if you do get the number one overall pick, it's going to be a while, in my opinion, before you can actually start taking off. Good example, the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons have had the worst record for many years in a row. They have not gotten the number one overall pick, and they don't look like they're going anywhere, honestly. They just paid Kate Cunningham a lot of money. Congrats to him, but they're not going anywhere. Like, I legitimately do not see them going anywhere for at least another 2 years. So, that's the reason why I'm just, like, tanking, like, flat-out tanking. No. But rebuilding, I think, is fine. But the Bulls don't want to rebuild. They have never said they're going to rebuild, and they want to make sure that they don't say that because it doesn't sell tickets. This team is going to try to make the play. I don't think they're going to. I think this team is still going to be bad enough for them to not be in the play-in personally. But we'll see. If we're bad enough, then I'm really hoping like we're like the 13th seed. Because then we'd have a higher chance of keeping the pick. But, you know, Bulls find a way to always mess it up somehow when it comes to the draft lottery. I agree completely. Bottoming out is only a really smart move, in my opinion, if you have a bunch of picks that will allow you to load up with talent in a couple of years. Even then, Sam, I don't even think that's the correct decision. Like, I just think that it is a much better process for you to go out and just go accumulate young talent before you even think about, like, even if you have all those picks, like, it's just not worth it for you to try to bottom out. Maybe that is the one situation where it could work out for you well, but I still think it's a major risk. I really do. Because that means then for that season where you're trying to go 0-82, you're not actively trying to accumulate young talent in ways and trades. And I just think then you're missing out on opportunities. They got offload more talent too, though. This roster right now is not bad enough to keep the pick next year. In my opinion, the East is really, really bad right now. So, look, I think Zach's getting offloaded, personally. I honestly think Vooch is a net negative. Like, I'm being real. Like, I think Vooch might honestly help the tank because he's just so bad at this point. But I just, when I look at this team, bro, I just say that they're so bad defensively that they're just gonna lose games. Like, I think with Zach, I can really see them, you know, not being, you know, a bottom 10 team. But assuming that the Spurs like start actually playing better now that with Wembanyama and Chris Paul, and we'll see about Portland. But like, I don't really see many teams in the West like really being like a horrible team. And like even Utah, for example, just took themselves out of the sweepstakes because they just re-signed Markkanen. So like Utah is going to actually try to win this season. It is just the East, like you said, Sam. But if all 5 teams at the bottom of the East are worse than the bottom 5 teams in the West, then the Bulls could probably still be there, right? But we'll see them. I do agree though that the East is pretty bad. Like when it comes to the Hornets, the Pistons. Oh, sorry, I just hit that. I truly do apologize. That's loud for you guys. I hit my mic. Yeah, Hornets, Pistons, the Wizards. Atlanta's a big question mark, but I still think Atlanta's gonna try to win. I'm probably missing a team here, but yeah, like there are some seriously bad teams in the East for sure. Makes me miss Paxton's plan from 0408 when he drafted players from winning programs. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Oh, Nets. Nets is a good call for sure. I think the Raptors gonna be better than people think, honestly. But I could see that too. The Nets for sure though are like the Nets are for sure tanking. Yeah, that's a good call. I think it's worth it because of contracts. If you only find young talent, the rebuild window can get cut short when you have to pay guys. But I disagree with that, Sam, because if you accumulate enough young talent, like you can let some of those guys go, and then you still have like the young, like the assets and young talent to like, you know, fill in those gaps. And honestly, like let's be real, like I think people would I would hope, and I guess this is hoping too much, but I would hope that the front office would understand when to actually pay the guy. Like for example, when it came to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander for the Thunder, they're like, hey, yeah, this is our franchise cornerstone, we're gonna pay him now, right? That made a lot of sense. Okay, so Indiana, Cleveland, and Orlando. Like, I just don't think the Bulls have any chance against these teams. Like, there's no shot. Um, yeah. So then it's Atlanta is the big wild card of like, are they going to be good or bad? Um, then the Miami Heat, which they're going to try to win. Yeah, we'll see. We're definitely going to see if the Bulls can get to that top 10 pick or keep it. All right, last on the agenda here for me. I do apologize that I have Legion Hoops pulled up. I didn't want to pull this up, but it was just the first thing I saw of it, and I do not want to pull up Joe Coley's Twitter page because I genuinely do not like it. And it's not just because of basketball decisions. I honestly think Joe Coley is just like he is just a disrespectful person, and deserves no coverage, honestly. And so I'm not gonna necessarily talk about him. But when it comes to this, I want to talk about this because Coley put out an article talking about how Ball has experienced no setbacks and is starting, full contact 5-on-5 scrimmages this month. So pretty big thing that was just kind of dropped on us, and I'm aware that there are a lot of people that are like very excited about this, and I'm gonna let you have your excitement, but I'm also gonna be the person that's gonna give you some reasoning, or kind of bring you back down to earth. Okay, let's be real about this situation. First off, I'm very happy for Lonzo. I think it's awesome to see that he is playing basketball again. Obviously not at the NBA level, but he's back to playing contact basketball and playing a scrimmage level game. And that itself is pretty impressive for a dude that just had a cartilage transplant. Like, that's impressive. Okay. I give him a lot of credit for it because that's not normal for a guy that just got a cartilage. I'm happy that he's able to do normal things, right? Like, that's, being a human comes first and foremost before basketball. And he's obviously able to do that. Here's the thing. Okay, there's a lot of people suddenly talking themselves into saying that this Bulls team could be a playoff team if Lonzo Ball is healthy. They somehow convince Zach to stay, and Zach plays at an all-star type level. Josh Giddey becomes an all-star, and Patrick Williams becomes, like an actual two-way legitimate threat, etc., etc. And I'm just like, bro, Please stop. Okay. I want to make this clear. All right. Lonzo Ball has not played in forever. How long has it been? It's been 2.5 seasons now. Has it been 3 seasons? Like, it's been a long time. It's been 2.5 seasons. Okay. Because he did play into 2022. He got hurt in January 2022, if I remember correctly. So it's been pretty much 2.5 seasons since Lonzo Ball has played. Okay. Gonna be real. I really don't have any faith that he's gonna stick, like, hold together for the entire season. And I really don't have any faith he's gonna hold together for even like 30 games. Okay. But first and foremost, when he does come back, okay, which I think he will be ready for training camp, and I think he's gonna be ready to play on opening night, assuming that there is no setbacks. Lonzo Ball will be coming off the bench if the Bulls are smart. Okay. There is no reason to be starting Lonzo Ball when he hasn't played in 2.5 seasons. Okay. He may be physically 100%, but he is in no way in game shape at all whatsoever. Okay. Game shape is different than being in scrimmage shape, practice shape, rehab shape. I don't care. Okay. You can go through as much, scrimmages as you want. You can do as hard of practice as you want. Nothing prepares you to be in game shape. Game shape is something completely different than anything else. So when it comes to this sort of stuff, okay, Lonzo Ball will not be in game shape at the start of the season, no matter what happens. I don't care how well he looks in preseason. I don't care how well he looks in scrimmage. He will not be ready to be in game shape. But if he is healthy, you're going to give him just some minutes, and he will be coming off the bench to start. Okay? So, like you said, Woodage, he will be coming off the bench. He'll be getting, at max, in my opinion, 15 minutes. I wouldn't be shocked if it's 10 to start off. Okay? And I think then, as you just watch him and just kind of see how he reacts to, playing in a high stress level environment again on his body, you slowly increase those minutes. Okay? I won't lie, though. I will not even think about starting Lonzo Ball until, like, you're 2/3 of the way into the season. Like, even if that's even a consideration. Like, if he's actually playing really well and, reacting well to the minutes increase, you do not start him until it's like 2/3 of the way into the season. Okay? Because you have to make sure that he is going to be in game shape and is actually healthy to play 36 minutes a game if he is going to start again. And I just have no faith that he is going to be able to do such a thing. In my opinion, at least the way that I'm going to look at it, I'm going to be watching the first 35 games when it comes to Lonzo. I won't be shocked if he gets hurt in the first 35 games. I'm going to be real. Like, I won't be shocked if he has knee pain and he's out for 2 weeks. That 2 weeks becomes 4 weeks. That 4 weeks becomes surgery. That rehab time of 6 to 8 weeks becomes out for the season. Okay? We should not have any expectation of Lonzo Ball when it comes to this season. None. We should just think that he is not healthy, honestly. It's going to be great when he comes back on opening night and is able to play for how many spot minutes. But the reality is that we should think that he's not going to be. Okay? Because I can just see that he's just going to have problems early on. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I can just see it happen. So, like you said, Woodage, 15 minutes to start off the bench. That's where we're going to start, and we'll go on from there. But I also want to make this clear. There's a lot of people suddenly starting to think about, like, well, if Lonzo's healthy, then he can be our point guard now for the starting point guard, and we can move Josh Giddey over to the forward, which I don't understand why you're even thinking that way. If there is ever a lineup out there, though, where it is Josh Giddey and Lonzo Ball playing together, Lonzo Ball is a wing, okay, in that lineup. And I'm going to say right now, Lonzo Ball is a wing in every lineup for this Bulls team this upcoming season. There is no spot for him to be the point guard, and it would make absolutely no sense to be the point guard for this team at any point for this upcoming season. Josh Giddey is by far going to be the point guard for this upcoming season. You're going to see maybe Kobe handling some of that responsibility as well as I would assume. Lonzo Ball, though, because of we're trying to get him acclimated to NBA minutes again, he is not going to be the point guard at any moment. He is going to be a wing. And honestly, Lonzo has been mostly a wing for most of his career. We're just going to be real, okay? He is a phenomenal passer, but really at no point have we looked at Lonzo Ball and said, yeah, he bends the defense. He's able to manipulate rotations and make sure and create open shots for his team. He passes at an extremely high level, like Josh Giddey does, right? But what Giddey might have the ability to do with his more, like if he increases his scoring, is the ability to manipulate the rotations on defense to create open shots for his teammates. Lonzo really has never had that, okay? Lonzo has mostly been a wing for his entire career, right? And I think that that's what he is going to be probably for the rest of his career. And it's just going to be more amplified because of this injury, if he is able to stay healthy. So, all I'm saying is that with Lonzo, don't have any expectations of him. I'm happy that he is he's progressing well with everything, but just don't have any expectations. Don't expect him to be playing point guard. And most importantly, don't expect him to be performing at a very high level at the start of the season. I don't think people understand that game shape is just completely different. When the bubble happened and the Warriors were not invited to the bubble, and then the following season they were able to play again, Steph Curry, if you do not remember what happened in that season. So let me just bring up Steph Curry's stats here, because this will show you better for all the people. Okay, so if you remember correctly what happened in this season, so this was the year, okay, where we excuse me, actually, am I remembering this wrong? Okay, well, either way though, so this year Steph only plays 5 games, right? This is, if I'm not, that is the COVID year, right? Yeah, okay, I'm right. Yeah. So this is the year Steph only plays 5 games. He gets injured early in the year. He then comes back, and then suddenly, boom, COVID, right? We're suddenly hit with the COVID year, where then the bubble happens, and the Warriors were not invited to the bubble. So you look at this, and Steph barely played this season, right? Then the following season, Steph comes back. He pretty much has not played basketball in almost like 2 years, okay? Because he didn't play much of this past season whatsoever, and then the Warriors were not invited to the bubble, right? So they just didn't, like, Steph just barely played. And so then at the start of this season, if you do not remember this, Steph Curry had a very rough start to this season, okay? He was having a very rough go to start the year, and everyone was honestly, I was almost said a bad word, but he was having a really rough time to start this year. And everyone's like, oh my God, see, Steph is washed, the decline's happening, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, no, like, he hasn't played an NBA game in forever. That's the whole point. I mean, just look at this. I mean, like, early, like, rough start, and, you know, people are like, wow, see, it's not that easy. And then he had the 62-point game, and then he just shut up everybody, okay? Now, this is Steph Curry, right? So it's a little bit different with Steph, but I'm just trying to point out in this whole thing, like, look, it's going to take a bit for Lonzo to really acclimate himself back. He has not played in 2.5 years. You can argue it's not his first. It's going to take a while. And he's not going to be getting heavy minutes like how Steph did, like, right off the bat. And Steph didn't have, like, this, like, major surgery and multiple surgeries in a row like Lonzo just did. So it's just something just to keep in mind. I just want people to, like, I think a lot of people are going to be supporting Lonzo this upcoming season, and, you know, props to them, as you should. You should be supporting Lonzo as much as possible. But I just know that there's gonna be some people that are gonna be, like, absolutely hating on him if he comes back and just cannot, it just does not look right immediately, and be like, oh my God, see, like, you should actually just retire because you're not playing. And I just don't want that to be the case. The fact that he's even gonna step back on the court, assuming that he does, is it's just a miracle. Like, he should not be stepping back on the court after a cartilage transplant. But that being said, we should not have this expectation of him being a two-way, you know, starting level caliber player like we saw before he got injured. So please, all I'm saying is just have the right expectation in mind for Lonzo this upcoming season. It's nice to hear these updates. I'm very happy he's doing this, and I want to continue hearing these updates. But let's not think about Lonzo Ball coming back and being the player that he was. Okay, we just should be happy that he's even out there, and the expectation should be very low for him. So I truly hope that it's going to be just a good overall year for Lonzo, staying healthy And if he averages like 2 points per game, that's fine. Like, just come back and just be healthy and be able to play in every single game, even if it's only like 10 minutes per game. Like, that itself will be a spectacular story. Like I said, we should not be expecting Lonzo to suddenly come back and be a starting caliber, two-way player. Like, it's just not. I just don't think it's possible. If he proves me wrong on that, major props to him. And I hope that's what he comes back at. But it just doesn't seem legit. I just have a lot of doubts about it. But prove me wrong. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Lonzo. And I'm just happy that he is back to being, healthy. Lonzo can give you maybe 60, 65, 70 games of productive bench player. You might be able to trade him in the offseason. This is the last year of Lonzo's contract. Weird. If you're not aware, this upcoming season for Lonzo Ball is the last year of his deal. He just opted into his player option, which is the last year of his contract. So, as you can see here, this is the last year of his deal. So, I honestly, I don't even know what's going to happen, but I would not be shocked if Lonzo, even if he has like a great year, the Bulls just don't resign him because of the injury issues. That's fine. Like, I have no issue with it, because it's crazy to think about it, but like, he's gonna be 27 now. Like, the last time we saw him play, he was 24. He's 27. Like, that's crazy just to think. But yeah, he suddenly is now not really on the timeline, right? Of like young core, etc. But we'll see. We'll see what the front office does. Like, if he does play well, then we'll see what the front office does. But to me, it just, I would not be upset if the Bulls just let him go after the season. And there's some people thinking that Lonzo could get traded at the trade deadline. I don't see that happening. Like, even if he is healthy, I think teams would not be willing to risk any of their future assets for 1 year of Lonzo Ball, and he could get right. He just has no value, really, honestly, even if he does stay healthy, because he's on the last year of his contract, right? So teams are not going to be willing to really give up anything. Giddey would be a super small forward. This weight, I do agree. Like, Josh Giddey at the 4 makes no sense for many reasons, and that's one of them. Yeah, the people that put Josh Giddey like the 3, though, like, they're saying like, okay, well, we can put Josh Giddey at the 3. So it's Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, Josh Giddey, and then Patrick Williams, and then Vooch. First off, that's stupid. You should not be running that lineup. That doesn't make sense to me. But secondly, Kobe is obviously going to be starting, but Lonzo is not going to be playing starting. It's just not going to happen. And Giddey is not going to be a point forward. He is going to be the point guard, and I hope people understand that. Yeah, that's that. All right, though. Overall, though, I just want to do a little stream to kind of catch up on all the news, and catch up on the Olympics, because that was obviously a great Olympic performance by Team USA, and all the teams honestly in the Olympics. So major props to them. Olympics are officially over. So today was the closing ceremonies. But yeah, I'll see you next time. I don't know what I'm going to stream next, because there has not really been any Bulls news recently. I guess the other thing that did happen is that the Bulls signed DJ Stewart to a 2-way. So congrats to him. He played very well in Summer League for the Bulls in Summer League. So major props to him. And then Andrew Funk got waived, so that was one of the 2-way players. Keep an eye on Onuralp Batim. His contract is not guaranteed, so the Bulls could potentially waive him and open up another roster spot, but they don't really have a lot of money to spend, because when we look at in terms of the tax stuff, the Bulls only have about $4.7 million before they hit the luxury tax. So they have, the non-taxpayer minimum exception, about $14.2 million available. So maybe they go on and sign another guy with that, but I just don't see that happening, honestly, because I don't think the Bulls want to be closer to the tax. So we'll see, though. They've been up against the tax the past 2 seasons. So yeah, but that's gonna do it for me. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. And so whether you're watching it via live or watching the VOD, appreciate y'all. I appreciate all the support. If you could hit the like button on the stream, helps me out a ton. And yeah, just overall recap of the news today. So if you're watching the VOD, please leave in the comment section down below on your thoughts on stuff that I covered, Olympics, this article by Jamal Collier, and the front office and their feelings, I guess. And then obviously this news that we got about Lonzo Ball, no setbacks in 5-on-5 scrimmages. So let me know in the comment section down below. But that's gonna do it for me, y'all. Sunday night. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.